welcome everyone to this week's episode of Raise Your Profile. Today I have Tomlinson, who has been a homeopath for over 20 years. She's helped people live happier, healthier lives and resolve different challenges in the area of, in some area of their health and well-being, be it physical or emotional well-being. And today we're going to learn from Polly what homeopathy really is, and how she combines it with other areas of alternative and complementary medicine, such as gut health, and how it all fits together and why it's better than traditional remedies that most of us are usually familiar with. So welcome, Polly. Great to have you here.
Oh, that's great to be here. Lovely to talk to you.
So tell us a little bit about your journey first. What led you to become a homeopath over 20 years ago?
Okay, so it's a bit of there's sort of two stories that go hand in hand really, but the initial thing was my daughter at the time was 18 months old and she was really struggling with her skin. She had quite severe eczema. And my first child had eczema as well, but that seemed to have passed. And with Henrietta, my middle one, it was much more serious. And we were kind of going down this route that you get sent down of bandaging up the body at night, piling on all these steroid creams and all this kind of stuff. And nothing seemed to be really helping. And combined with that, we had a problem with her moods as well. So she was really throwing these huge tantrums at a very young age. And I could see this cyclical behaviour going on with her mind and her body. I wasn't entirely sure myself at the time whether it was her mood that was making her skin flare up or whether the skin was making her mood come along. But there was this cyclical thing going on. And when I discussed it with the GP, he said, body and mind are not connected, don't be ridiculous. And I just thought, I cannot go back to that GP ever again. I can't work with somebody who thinks like that. So I was a bit stuck at the time. And then I happened to be, of all places, sat in a vet with a cat on my knee. And I noticed a clinic opening on the other side of the road. And it was a homeopathic clinic. And I thought, I wonder what that's all about. So went and had a little look in this nice shop, spoke to the person in there about it and explained a little bit about what homeopathy was. And I didn't think that I'd heard of it before. So I decided to give it a go. It sounded good, natural, no side effects, ticking all the boxes for me. And within 3 months, I would say, Henrietta's skin was completely clear. And not only that, her moods were settled. She was happier in herself. She was a really, it didn't change her personality in any way, but it certainly made her more happy in her own skin, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And it showed in all areas of life. And her skin has been phenomenal ever since. And she's 23 next week. So that was a real turning point for me. But I also remembered that when the homeopath handed me these little pills, I thought, I've seen these before. I've had these before. And I remembered that my mum had actually taken me to a homeopath when I was a teenager. And I'd completely forgotten about that because we'd had quite a lot of turmoil at that time. She was extremely ill herself. And she'd no doubt tried to take me down a natural route while we were navigating her own illness at that time. And so I had actually had homeopathy myself, and it brought the memories back of that for me too. So I thought, my mum's already introduced me to this. The little light bulb went off there. And then I realised how much it was helping my daughter as well. So I was quite hooked. And then
it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. It was kind of really meant to be. And then a few months later, a friend of mine was tragically killed on his motorbike, and his girlfriend, they were due to be married within, I think it was sort of 3 weeks after the event. And I tentatively went round with a homeopathic remedy for her for grief because she was in a real state, as you can imagine. And she was also somebody that I knew was open to natural things, and she didn't want to take the tranquilizers that the doctors wanted her to take. And I took a remedy round for her, and it completely changed how she was feeling. She was so blown away by it. And in fact, me and her went on our first 4-year training to become homeopaths together as a result of that. And we're 20 years down the line, and me and her still do all our studying together. We're like a double act. So we go and we keep learning and expanding our knowledge all the time together.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it came from lots of angles, but it was obviously I was being pushed along this path to do it.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it was meant to be. And it's interesting. You mentioned something in the beginning when you were sharing your daughter's story. And you said she had both the physical and emotional symptoms, and you weren't quite sure which one was causing which. So did you ever find out, or is it that things are just interrelated to begin with?
Yeah, well, that was my initial thoughts were kind of around, is one causing the other, and which side of the seesaw is doing the damage, sort of thing. But then as I came to realize how the body works and how everything is interconnected, and as you learn more about holistic medicine and dealing with the person as that complete individual, you realize that it's all interconnected. And this idea of going to, say, a specialist who will only look at your skin but not look at the rest of you as a person is crazy, because we come as a whole package, and we need to look at every single part of us together.
Yes,
But the
absolutely.
answer is, I did come to a conclusion that it is all part of one person, and that you can't treat a person in parts. We need to treat a person as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? How would you approach it, for example, if you meet someone for the first time and they present a specific problem, let's say a skin condition or anything else? What sort of questions, how would you find out what else that can, what other areas that can manifest in, or how it's all related?
So when you do a homeopathic consultation, really, what I do is ask the person to tell me their story. So initially they will tell me about the skin condition, whatever that is. I mean, I can give you an amazing example of how this happened one time with me. And a lady came to me and she wrote on the form that she had eczema, and she'd had it for 18 months, and that was all she put on the form. So we started to talk, and it was kind of, okay, how does it look, where is it on your body, how does it make you feel, does it weep, does it ooze, is it itchy, is it worse at night? I got all that kind of classical physical answers from her about what was going. Then we start to talk more, and this is what happens with a consultation, because I'm with somebody for an hour to an hour and a half, so it's not just a quick chat about this part of the body. You get to really kind of know people more in depth, and that kind of what makes them tick, and what's going on in their life. And I said to her, so what do you think was going on at that time that possibly could have triggered this reaction in your body? Was there anything of significance happening? And she, oh yes, my husband tried to commit suicide in the kitchen, and I found him with his wrists cut at the kitchen table. And I thought, why didn't she put this on the form, that she was dealing with this huge shock? And he survived, by the way, but there was obviously an enormous shock that happened to her, and it had affected her on every level of her body, and the body had manifested this huge rash or eczema type of symptoms. So yeah, it isn't always the case that someone will write on the form the thing that needs to be looked at, but if you can find that underlying cause and you can treat that, then the physical stuff will fade away. So it's about kind of pulling a keystone, and then the rest of the wall will just tumble down. So we just got to get to that root cause, and that's what comes out with the consultation and the talking to the person.
Right. Okay, that's amazing. So you would first get to the root cause, and then you prescribe, so to speak, or I'm sure that's probably not a word you like, as it comes from traditional medicine, but that then you would define what's best for that person. Okay, so let's talk about what homeopathy really is. I think a lot of us, before I got your book, well, I can at least talk from my own personal perspective. I kind of knew my dad likes to use homeopathic medicine. Every time I had a cold, he would tell me, don't get paracetamol, whatever, get something homeopathic. So, but I'd never really knew what it really means, what it comes from, etc. And I think a lot of people are probably in that position. So what is homeopathy really, and why do we need to know about it, and how it can help us?
Okay, so I suppose in a nutshell, it's a complementary medicine. It uses things like plants or minerals to make the remedies, and the remedies use the really most minutest amount of that substance. So really we're using the energy of the substance to cause a reaction in the body. And what we do is we use a substance that, if you took it in large doses, would cause the symptoms that you have. So a really simple analogy would be coffee. Let's use coffee as an example. If you drink tons and tons of coffee and you're sensitive to it, chances are you'll be running backwards and forwards to the bathroom, you'll be jittery, your heart might be racing, and you probably won't be able to sleep. So if I get somebody who comes to me with those symptoms, let's just say those 4 symptoms, for example, I might use coffee in homeopathic form to treat them. So we use a like cures like system, whereas in traditional medicine, the theory is that they use an opposite. So they find something that will stop this reaction in the body. We work with the body as opposed to against it. So we're coming from a completely different angle. And what homeopathy does, it gets the body to trigger its own immune response, and then the body does the healing itself. So once your body is in the healing process and it's moving towards getting better and it's doing it on its own, you don't need to keep giving the substance over and over again. So what I'm really looking for, the best result is I give a remedy. It's like I've jump started a car that had a battery that wasn't working. The battery comes to life. The body starts to do what it needs to do. And then I can let that person go because they found their proper health. There's no reliance on a drug anymore, and they've got total freedom, and they've got a real cure. They haven't got something that's a temporary fix, for example, where maybe a drug makes them feel better for a certain amount of time, but then you have to take more and more and more of it to get the same result. We do the reverse. We take less and less and less and less until you need nothing, and the body's doing it all itself.
Sure. So essentially you empower the body to heal itself rather than block the symptom. And is that the main difference between traditional medicine and homeopathy, that traditional would find something that's the opposite and really block the symptom rather than the cause, as you said, whereas homeopathy would actually use the law of similars to allow the body to heal itself?
That's the real difference. Yeah, it's coming from a completely different angle and allowing the body to heal itself. There's no side effects and there's no reliance on a drug because the body does it all itself. So when it works, it's absolutely beautiful to see.
Okay, so Polly, you're also the best-selling author of Homeopathy 101. 101 questions answered about homeopathy.
Yes.
So what can readers learn from this book? Who is it for?
Okay, so the reason I wrote the book was because over all these years, people have asked me lots of questions like you are now. You know, what is homeopathy? I get people saying, is it that thing with oils? And I say, no, I'm not an aromatherapist. I'm a homeopath. It's medicine. It's not massage. And a lot of people just haven't actually heard of it. Or if they have heard of it, they don't really know what it is. So I'll get asked questions like, can it treat me? Can it treat my child? Can I have it when I'm pregnant? Does it help in labour? Can elderly people take it? So I get all those questions. Can my dog have it? Is it good on pets? You know, those kind of things. Then I get the list of which illnesses can it help with. How does it work? What's the philosophy behind it? So then I decided the best thing for me to do here is to write a book and answer all these questions. So I put it all together. It's a dip in and out of type of book. So if you've got a question that you want to find the answer to, you should be able to find it in there. And I've included a lot of links to other resources, huge homeopathic resources around the world, really, because although it's relatively unknown, sort of when I'm talking to people, it is the second most used medicine in the world, and it's used by over 500 million people, which is an awful lot of people. So the idea really was for me to get it out to the general public who don't quite understand it. And so I've written it in a really simple way so that it's really accessible for everybody.
That's amazing. So I'll ask you at the end to share a link as to how listeners can get a copy of their book as well. As I think, as you said, 500 million people, that is a lot of people.
It is, yeah.
Already. but obviously there are a lot of people out there who don't know about it and still resort to traditional medicine. And I completely agree with you. I think we need to find the root cause of any symptom, any sort of physical or emotional issue that we're experiencing. And everybody I talk to through this program kind of works in a holistic way. So my next question to you is, when should people get your book or start learning about homeopathy? Because what I mean by that is a lot of us wait until we have eczema, or we have an emotional issue, or we have something that's actually happened to us. And then we try traditional medicine and it doesn't work. We try different things and they don't work. And then we think, okay, I'm going to try something, what we call alternative or complementary medicine. And okay, maybe they come across homeopathy one day and they get help, and that's wonderful. But do they need to wait? Do we need to wait until a point where we get eczema or get something and something needs to be done?
No, of course not. And I wish I'd found it sooner. You know, I was 26 with my daughter on my knee, 18 months old, thinking, oh, what am I going to do with this child? You know, I need to find something else. And then had my eureka moment, if you like, that there was something else out there. So yeah, the sooner we know about it, the better. I absolutely love it when I can treat a woman who's having a baby, because not only does she get the benefit, the baby gets the benefit before they're even born. And then they can be treated right from day one, and they don't get these layers, these sort of acquired layers that you get from taking medication that builds up over years. So for me, the easiest people to treat are the children who haven't been messed around with too much, because they're just these lovely little souls. And then when you get to the more older person who's had lots and lots of medication, then we've got more layers to deal with. Sure. So we have to go on the journey together. And so that's why homeopathy takes longer. That is something that people need to know. It's not a quick fix. It's not, there's a pill, you'll be better in 3 days. It's not that kind of thing. It's a journey. And I go on that journey with whoever I'm working with.
So what are some of the other complementary methods that you use? I know you work with gut health as well. Apart from homeopathy, what else do you combine in your practice to help people improve their health?
So I've trained in so many different healing techniques over the years, an awful lot of energetic work. I'm an Usui Reiki master teacher as well. I've done magnified healing, I've done theta healing, I've done lots of things that work on the kind of spiritual plane. And the reason I've done that is because when I first trained as a homeopath, I felt that I was very, very classically trained. So it's very much like medical school. This is a remedy, this is what it does, next remedy, this is what it does, and you learn it kind of, you know, like a dictionary, and you find that the remedies are coming in your head like a computer system as you're talking to someone. But I did feel that I'd missed, there was an element of spirituality that I wasn't quite getting when I was talking to people, and I was really interested in getting to that route. So I went down the road of learning many spiritual techniques as well. And then I went back to a different homeopathic school, which is a shamanic homeopathy school, and did another 4 years there and learned how to incorporate the more spiritual side of it into the medicine as well. So what I do really is, depending on the person who is in front of me and what's uppermost for them. If somebody's on a spiritual journey, then I can work with them on that level. If they have arthritis in their knee and they want a remedy for that, then I'll give them a remedy for that, and we'll work on that first. And I just go on the journey with each individual depending on what they want from me, really. So yeah, I incorporate the energetic work with the homeopathy, and I also incorporate the gut health work as well. Because what I find is that I can help people to a point, and I can get somebody to, 99.9% well, shall we say, and then they'll go out and eat all the wrong foods, lower their immune systems because they're eating foods maybe with additives. There can be hormonal things that are in there that they don't know they're eating, the stuff that gets into our waterways that we don't know that we're taking in. And I need people to realize that we're born with these Ferraris for bodies. And if we don't put the right oil and the right fuel in, that they're not going to give us the performance that we want. So I decided to help people with their nutrition as well as the actual medicine side of it.
Okay, so you combine all of these different approaches, the nutrition side, the homeopathy side, the spiritual side, etc. So tell us a bit more about this journey. I mean, I can imagine that for a lot of people who haven't come across homeopathy before, it's really hard to imagine what it really is like. And I think when it comes to anything to do with alternative medicine, let's call it that way, complementary medicine, I don't know, what would you call it? Alternative medicine?
It is, yeah. Well, it's both, yeah.
It's both, yeah. I think we know what it's like to go to a doctor and get a pill, and we know that we'll feel better. Some of us may know that we're not actually treating the underlying cause, but we know what that looks like and feels like. I think when it comes to alternative medicine or holistic therapy or anything that's not as widespread, I think one thing that stops people from seeking it is that unknown factor. They don't know what it's like, right? They don't know what to expect, and they don't know the real benefits that they are going to get. So it's just, we don't know that, the brain is not drawn to what we don't know, to the unknown.
Yeah.
And I think to have us listening to this, to our listeners right now, I think it will be helpful to explore more this journey. So as you said, it depends on what the person is after. If they come to you with a specific problem, they want to heal that's fine. If they're on a spiritual journey, that's fine. But tell us a bit more about this journey. How long does it, I suppose there is no limited amount of sessions, a fixed amount of time. What does that look like? Would you do a combination of talking and then you will prescribe what sort of treatments they will have? Tell us a bit more about the journey. I would like myself and our listeners to be able to imagine what that looks like and what are the true benefits they're going to get out of it.
So what I generally do is I advise people to book in for a package with me rather than say like a one-off session, because I think because homeopathy is a slower acting remedy but yields better results, that you have to be invested in it from the beginning. So I always advise to book in, and the first consultation would be 60 minutes to an hour and a half. And as I spoke to you just a bit earlier, we go through literally everything. So people might come in and think they're going to tell me about a finger, but by the time they've left, they've told me their life story quite often. It just seems to happen that way, that people talk, they offload. And it's actually really important for people to have that time to talk as well as everything else. That's almost part of the treatment. It's not counselling, but it's offloading, if you like, and sharing what really is in your mind, because that's so important. So we do that based on what is discovered in that session. That will tell me which remedy is the most suited to that person. So it can be a remedy that deals just on the physical plane. It can be one that deals on the physical and mental. It can be one that deals on the mental and emotional, or it can be one that deals on the emotional and spiritual. So it depends on that person, what they need. And also, not just matching the remedy, I've got to manage the strength of it as well, depending on someone's vitality. So if somebody is really physically ill and they're on their knees, say someone has got chronic fatigue or something like that, which I've treated quite a lot, then you would start with low potency remedies, because they will resonate with the vibration of that person. As the person gets better over the months, you can raise the remedies as their vibration comes up. So you're matching them all the time, and you're watching them come up this lovely, getting better and better and better each month. And that's what we do. So the remedies are changed regularly because the person changes. So it's not, here's a remedy and that will be it now for the next year, you'll be fixed. You have to stay in touch with me. We have to talk. We're on the journey together. So the more feedback that the person gives back to me, that enables me to adjust the remedy for them and to match where they're at. So it's kind of lots of feedback, lots of talking. And then at the same time, I'll be talking to them about what they're eating, what their lifestyle habits are. Are they sleeping well? What are their relationships like? How they live, love, how happy they are. All those kind of things come into the conversation as well. And then I'll help them with their gut health, because 70 to 80% of our immune system is made in the gut. So if our gut microbiome is not functioning properly, then the body will go out of balance. So I'm really interested in getting people's gut health in tip-top condition as well. And then I see a lot of women, and obviously women suffer with all kinds of illnesses, as do men, but we have premenstrual stress, then we might have menopause, we have all kinds of period problems, endometriosis, fibroids, cysts, all these kind of things, lots of hormonal issues, and 70 to 80% of hormones are created in the gut as well. So it's really important that we look after the nutrition and the gut health alongside everything else that we do. So I build all this into the package, and it becomes a bespoke package for the person. So every single person gets a different variation depending on what they need.
Yes, of course. Okay, and the time would vary from person to person once again, or you would decide to work with them on a certain package, and then if they need more, they can extend that if they want.
Yeah, I usually say to do the initial consultation and then let's book for 6 months after that. So you're talking a 7-month period.
Okay.
But if somebody's coming in with just a cold or a cough, which is an acute illness, then that can be fixed in 1 session. But if it's something that's more chronic, which we need to work with, then I would suggest, a 6 or 7 month period of time.
So 6 or 7 months would be the minimum really for a chronic condition.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And are you able, I guess that's another question that may arise in people's minds, are you able to help with anything? And I think you mentioned earlier pets as well. I mean, is there anything that homeopathy cannot help with, be it physical or emotional?
Well, I've never had anybody come into the clinic and I've thought, I can't help this person.
Okay.
So I would say no. And there's no contraindications either. So there's no conditions that people can come in where we can say, right, I can't treat you because you're having this other treatment, or you've got a particular illness. This is why I say it's alternative or complementary, because a lot of people come to me who are already taking medication for something else. And so I would never interfere with their medication from their GP or their consultant. I would treat them alongside until they feel so good that they will then decide to go back to their GP or consultant and say, right, now's time for us to have a chat about my medication. Can we start reducing it? And that's really where we want to get them to.
Of course. Okay. So it's okay for them to continue with the traditional medication, and that is fine. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Them as well. Okay. Yeah. And Polly, I know you also run retreats.
I do. Yes.
Tell us a bit about that and how people can contact you if they're interested in that, and what they're all about. Really, are they just about homeopathy, or are they something more than that? What are your retreats? And the next one is coming up in September.
Yeah, they're much more than that. They're much more than that, but they are targeted to people who want to take a more holistic approach to their own health and well-being. So I've joined forces with my eldest daughter, who's a vegan chef. I'm vegan and have been for years. And not that I think that everyone has to be vegan, but if you've never tried vegan food and you think that it's not for you, then I would challenge you to come on a retreat and be fed for 3 or 4 days with the food, and it will open your eyes to how amazing it can be when someone prepares that food for you. So we combine, on the retreats, we do meditation, we do yoga and movement, we do journaling, we have this amazing vegan food, we do walks in the countryside, and we're just talking about introducing some more creative things we're going to do, foraging and making things as well. So we're incorporating that now as well. We're going to do campfire cooking, food demonstrations, so you can learn how to make things like vegan cheese, for example, or fermented sauerkraut and things like that are really helpful for the gut. So it's all educational, but really fun as well. We want it to be a fun environment where you learn a few things, but you can also chill out and read a book, and you can get fed amazing food, and you can go out into the countryside and just take some time out for yourself and really focus on yourself. The people who've come along have mainly been people who are pretty busy, overwhelmed, maybe running their own businesses, don't really have the time to take out to just think about, gosh, what do I actually need? Am I enjoying what I'm doing in my life? Do I need a couple of days out just to reassess and have a little think? And yeah, they've been amazing so far. So we've got one coming up in September, And then we're just looking at our dates ready to launch the dates for next year.
Sounds amazing. I think I'll definitely join you if not September, then early next year for sure. Okay, and how can people reserve their spot on these retreats?
Okay, so we've got a website for the retreats called nourishedsoulretreats.co.uk. You just pop onto there. There's lots of information about how me and Charlotte, my daughter, came together with this idea. And you can book and reserve your place on there now. That's pretty straightforward. But there's going to be lots of updates coming. It's also on Facebook and Instagram as well, so you can follow us on there as well. Yeah, any information you can get that from the website.
Okay, great. I'll definitely share the links together with this video as well. Before I ask you to share your details to how people can contact you, they want to work with you, is there any advice you'd like to give to people? Is there anything we can do to help ourselves have a better life? If, let's say, for someone who is really busy, say someone running their own business, and they know they need a retreat, they know they need to work on their health and well-being, but they just can't, they think they can't afford the time or whatever right now. Is there anything you can share right now they can do right away, other than stop and think, which is they know they need to do that, but they just can't afford it right now in terms of time? What is it that they can do? What's the most important thing to look after?
I think one of the things that people can try to do right now is to stay in the moment. We tend to, especially if we're really busy, we're either assessing what we did earlier on, or we're thinking about what we're going to do next, and we're not really staying very present in this moment. And sometimes I'll say to people, you know, when you're in the shower in the morning, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about, I'm standing under this gorgeous hot water and it's making me feel so nice and clean, isn't this a lovely moment? Or are you thinking, what am I going to wear when I get out of the shower, and have I put petrol in the car, and where have I got to be for what time, and how many calls have I got to make? Just try and stop that narrative from running away with itself and stay in the moment. And that will bring your stress levels so much, down so far, just in that moment. And each time you do that, I'm just having a drink, each time you do that, you're going to reduce your stress levels. And stress is such an underlying cause for illness that if we can just focus on getting the stress down and down and down, even just a tiny bit, that will really help towards keeping you well.
Is stress, that is a very good point you raise. Just before we wrap up, is stress the main underlying cause of everything? Would you agree with that?
It's how we individually deal with stress. Some people seem to be able to just let it float off them like, water off a duck's back, whereas other people react really strongly to even the smallest amount of stress. But what I do know from research is that in the UK, there was a study done last year where 80% of people said they'd suffered with stress or overwhelm in the previous 12 months. And of that 80%, 75% had manifested some physical symptoms as a result of it. So that's an awfully high percentage of people in the UK who are struggling one way or another as a result of stress. So yes, it's a huge issue.
Yeah, definitely. I think even what you just said about not being in the moment, and in the shower, having a drink or having coffee and just thinking about what's about to come, we're stressing out about that. We're constantly stressing out about something in our busy lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you so much, Polly, for this. It was such a pleasure talking to you. If you'd like to share any final words with our listeners, and also, most importantly, how can people contact you if they decide they want to take up the benefits of homeopathy and work with you in the future?
Well, what I would say is if you just go to my website, which is easy to remember, it's talktopolly.com. It's a blog site, so you can have a read of a few of the blogs that I've written recently, so you get a feel for how I talk, because they're very conversational blogs. And there is all the information about homeopathy, my backflower remedies, my book, everything is on there. So it's really easy to navigate around that site. If you want to get a copy of the book, there is a free book offer. All that you have to do is just pay for the shipping. So if you click on the link, it will take you to the book page there, where you can just order your free copy of the book as well. So if you want to learn a bit more about homeopathy, that's the perfect place to start.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Polly, for this. I trust people will be contacting you soon. Thank you everybody for listening or watching this. And so now you know what to do if even before you're struggling with any physical or emotional symptoms due to stress or whatever it may be. Make sure to, at the very least, get Polly's book and learn about homeopathy and how it can help you in the future. Or contact Polly as well through her website. I will share the details once again in a link with this. Thank you so much again, Polly, and thanks everyone for listening. And enjoy the rest of your day.